Welcome to Talking Gearheads. I'm your host, Frank Lee, sponsored by Euro World Motorsports. And today's guest is my good friend Josh Kirk, owner of HTX Customs here in Houston. Josh, thanks for coming on board today.
Man, thanks for having me. Enjoy being here.
Talk to me about HTX Customs. What do you guys do?
Let's talk about what we don't do. No. So we are a full customization shop, handle everything from interior and exterior, wraps, graphics. We do commercial stuff, all vinyl, canvas print, state-of-the-art printers, plotters. I would say the only thing we don't do is build high-performance, high-horsepower engines. I'm not going to be responsible for that kind of stuff, right?
No, I understand. About the only thing we don't do is engines and transmissions. And that's because there's incredibly good shops both in and around the Houston area that build good engines and transmissions. Mm-hmm. I just use them.
Well, without a doubt, right? I mean, So I don't want to be responsible for the guys that we build an engine for that run out and blow that shit up and be like, hey, you blew my motor up.
That's right. And that's why I gave up tuning for people. Because, boy, people will bring you the rattiest piece of junk on planet Earth. Here's $199 to be on your dyno.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that pre-dyno inspection to make sure there's not cracks in the engine case or the transmission case or the housings, and they want to light it up, and that thing goes boom.
Oh yeah. No, I had a shop down in Florida years ago. This was 2010, 11, somewhere in there. Did a startup down there. We had a dyno. We did dyno days, and I can't tell you how many people roll through it, especially diesel days and stuff like that. They'd roll through and want to throw it on a 488 and just get after it, and shit blows up. And well, you know, we were tuning and it blew up, and that truck was tuned, or that car was tuned. And so yeah, we cover everything minus that. There isn't anything. Custom interior. We do a lot of higher end clients as well. A lot of exotic cars we get rolling through the shop.
Nice. So when did you start HTX Customs?
HTX Customs has been around for about 4 years. Okay. I partnered up in this company August. I think it was August of last year.
So your involvement's pretty new.
It is.
And what was your background coming into it?
Background since 2000. I've had numerous shops, partners, and shops throughout the United States. Back in San Antonio, Austin had one, and here in Houston had one, Florida, down in Sarasota, Tampa area, and throughout my life has been an automotive enthusiast, right? So ahead of its time in 2000. I had a shop, had a business partner down in Hondo, Texas, believe it or not, all places. This was prior to...
Where on God's green earth is Hondo, Texas?
West of San Antonio, by Bandera, out in the hill country.
Brother, man, that is out there.
Yes, tell me about it.
And you had business?
Well, so this is where I'm getting...
the chink in the armor.
Yes, so I started in the oil and gas industry in 2000, and... met some really good people, teamed up with somebody, got married in 2002, bought a house, decided, all right, I had a shop at the house, small shop. I said, I'm gonna start an automotive shop. I had a couple classic cars, a 420, I think it was a 427 Chevelle, right? The big block Chevys, and a front runner kit, gold, colored, black vinyl roof, had a 68 Camaro and a 65 Chevelle. I was like, okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take this car and we only have dial-up. This is AOL, so this shit's slow. But we're in Hondo. Let's sell some raffle tickets for products bought, and we'll give this damn car away. Ooh. So we tried this thing, and people weren't using the internet. And the company was
early
called
2000s.
Yeah.
Okay.
The company was called Full Throttle Performance at the time.
Okay.
Right. But prior to that, I had worked as a tech and an off-road tech and a suspension tech for extreme off-road in San Antonio back in the early 90s, late 90s, maximum altitude, just a bunch of shops back then. So we gave this a shot, and it completely fucking tanked. Just crashed.
Now that's important. And this is this is where, with my guests, I want to start unpacking things because, for me as a businessman, I think all new businesses should be celebrated like the birth of a child. And at the same time, I think nothing's sadder for me than to see a business go out or go under. But you talk to every owner who's watched a business go under, and the lesson list is very long. So let's talk about a little bit about the big lessons you learned from that shop in Hondo, Texas.
Ooh, so a business plan is always a good idea. So let's talk about the first decision. I want to get into business. Again, let's go to what the hell am I doing? Right, that's going to cross your mind a bunch. So back then we didn't have coaches or podcasts or internet, or it wasn't pick up a cell phone. Hell, I didn't have my first cell phone until 2003, right? So it wasn't a pick up a cell phone and call a friend. This was in the sticks. I want to start an off-road shop and a performance shop. So we jump into this thing, no business plan. We're going to swing it. I mean, I was 20-something years old. It hadn't
That's right. That was 20 years ago.
I mean, I'm 43 right now, so still young, right? In my prime, as they'd say. But
brother, I got a decade on you. So you're preaching to the choir.
So we jump into this thing and we give it a shot. We really didn't know. We had a couple local connections. We got some cars in, built a couple things, did some body work on some classic cars. Didn't really know much about paint other than we could paint. Did it look good? Well, we don't know. We really hadn't. Some country boys that hadn't been to a big car show were starting off doing this.
Okay.
We get into this, and then we decide we want to grow this. So we go around town. We start getting some raffle tickets and not understanding rules and regulations and what you can and can't buy. We just go all into this. And about 6 months in, it was like, man, nobody's buying stuff. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Do we need to do something else? Well, let's run some ads in the local papers. So we try that. Nobody cared about the local papers there. It was the Thrifty Nickel or some of the other little things. We may have got 1 or 2 phone calls. And finally, it was like, okay, let's just do this for us. Let's just have fun. So we kind of slowed the business down, and time just grew, where it was one car, and then we'd do another car, and next thing you know, somebody would catch on, and this was probably a course of about a year or two. Somebody would catch on, hey, can you do this to my car? Or can you put this on it? We did, to the point to where everybody in town either knew us or they didn't want to use us. So we put a focus back into just, let's do oil and gas, focus on family. We're going to just live life. Then came, well, I want to do another four-wheel drive truck, right? Well, we had already shut down the business. What are we going to do? Well, we would just put a lift on. We would do things. We would tinker. We knew people in town. And it was probably 05, somewhere in there. 03. It was 03, 04. I decided I wanted to get into exotics and boats, and that's poker runs started happening with big boats and shit. So I was like, you know what? I think at that time I had a lifted truck, or I had an offshore boat. It was something. And I traded it for a Lamborghini Countach. 87. Yeah. It was a salvage title. Really didn't care back then.
And back in the mid 2000s, you could pick up Countaches and Diablos cheap.
Cheap as hell.
And that's how I got my Diablo.
That was the worst damn car to drive. That steering, you couldn't wear a ball cap.
Yeah, for someone who's never had to deal with a Countach, like I'll be the first to say I've serviced a few of them, and I cannot physically operate a Countach with the driver's seat in the car. I have to take the seat out to drive it.
Now, I was $150 back then, 6 foot tall.
Wow.
Right, I had been skinny up until, I don't know, probably 2008. Then I really started putting on some weight. But even then, the car was fun. People looked at it. Everybody wanted to get pictures. It was a blast in the aspect of it's a Lamborghini. It's what I had on my wall as a kid, as a poster, Cannonball Run shit. Like, it was fun. So I got it. Worst thing I ever did. Well, okay, second worst thing I ever did.
Well, I mean, for people who don't understand what goes into those cars.
I had no clue.
That car will bankrupt you if you don't know what you're doing or what to buy or what to get.
Without a doubt. I was working on a drilling rig at that time. Now, so I started in oil and gas in 2000, somewhere in there, and I was roughnecking at the time. I started in 2000, 2001. I think we were making $12.50 an hour. So I was getting 40 hours regular time, 46 hours overtime.
So on averaging $14-15 an hour, you bought a Countach?
I traded a powerboat for it.
You bought a powerboat?
Yeah, well, I traded a Camaro or a Chevelle for that. Like, it was always trading.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's good.
And I at that time, I had more money than I know what to do with then. And so it was Countach. Well, then the parts that needed to go into this thing, and the headache, and the nightmare, and the water leaks, and it just turned into.
And that engine does not come out easy.
No. So it had some problems. Steering was really, really loose. I didn't enjoy driving. It was difficult.
It was a non-power steering car.
Right. And it took a ton of dedication to drive it down the highway at 80, 90 miles an hour.
Chassis and alignments, everything, plus tires. Our first Countach customer, that thing showed up and we put it on the lift, and I couldn't believe how bad off it was. And we wound up fabricating parts for them because it wasn't even a matter of expense. We made way better parts than what you could buy, but even what you could buy was 1 year out.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing was not safe to drive without the parts.
Oh, no. It was.
And so we had to make them, and we made the parts and did a pair of tires, did an alignment, set everything straight. And you couldn't believe how dramatically different the car was.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, now, can you put power steering in it? I laughed. I said, they didn't put power steering until the second generation Diablo.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a first generation Diablo, no power steering. And a little tiny steering wheel to really make it fun.
Oh, yeah. Yes, right.
Let's take away all mechanical advantage.
It was difficult. And that's when I realized that maybe I don't have more money than I know what to do with. So I thought, I want to get back into muscle cars. I had a guy in Florida. We did some trading. I sent him the Lambo. He sent me a Pro Touring 69 Camaro that needed some work, right?
Still a Pro Touring 69?
It was nice. Well, what we considered Pro Touring in 2002, right? Somewhere in there. Got the car, did some modifications. And I drove that thing for quite a while, and then just built up my inventory. Then I started the next company, automotive company.
So at that point, what year was that then?
I'm gonna say we're moving into like 2004, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Right? So this is 2000 to 2003 was the Powerboat, Countach, full throttle performance, Hondo, Texas era, just establishing a process of, okay, this is what I like. Prior to that, I had met my wife back in '97.
Oh, wow.
And I used to work, I grew up in Lavernia, Texas. So I used to work on all the local vehicles. One of my friends would bring, hey, tune this carburetor, or change this out. I changed my first starter, I think I was maybe 15 on a Ford Crown Vic, 84.
So you've been wrenching since you were a kid.
Since a kid. My old man didn't tell me a starter weighed 50,000 pounds, and I crawled into the car to take it off and dropped it on my head. Split my head. I was yelling underneath the car, get it off, get it off. He's like, you want to work on cars?
And I bet you it was on the driveway in the heat of the summer.
Sand. Lavernia's full of sand, and we had a red clay driveway. So, yeah. God. And so I'm in sand.
That hurts thinking about it.
It was just, but I loved it. I still, even through all the pain and suffering and not having a lift, I loved it.
Well, and speaking to that, even my wife just looks at me and she says, you still go out in that damn shop every day? And you,
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't know, there's something about taking something that's not working that has zero functionality. And with your mind, your two hands and the right tools and the correct part, and even if you have to work on the part a little bit to make it right, you put it together and that thing fires up and runs like a champ. That's a sense of accomplishment. How do you describe that to someone who's never done it?
Oh yeah,
it's addicting.
I agree. You get a Mustang or a 96 chassis or a 92, and you take all those components and put in a 68 or 66 or 67. And the way it runs and the way everything functions is so much better. And growing those parts of your body and your mind to build these cars like that is phenomenal. So I did that. Again, went through the 2000s scenario.
And so by 2004, 2005, you're leaving Hondo.
Leaving Hondo, moving to Stone Oak area, San Antonio. My whole life's been around San Antonio.
Okay.
Right? Move over there, and I don't remember the name of the little neighborhood. Got a rent house there, decided I wanted to expand. This was 2000, and we were there for quite a while. I'm going to say 2005 to 7-ish.
Okay. Because I came to Houston in 2007.
Okay.
That's when I got here.
7 was my last year working on the drilling rig side for a contractor, right? So in 07, I had tinkered around and done some trading and building of cars, worked as a mechanic, but I was still working on oil and gas. I'd worked my way up to a tool pusher. 07.
You worked yourself up to a what?
A tool pusher, a rig manager in oil field on the drilling rig.
Okay. These are terms I'm not familiar with.
So you start off with roustabout or, something low, and then you got a floor hand. Roustabout or floor hand, something low. What
a great name.
Yeah, roustabout.
That sounds way better than floor hand.
There's all kinds of stuff, right?
Worm.
So doing this and working my way up. 07, I wanted to get into motorcycles. So I did something stupid and bought a custom chopper, 300 rear. It was like a
for your first
3
bike.
under 6 out Pro Street, big chopper.
Justin can tell you about the value of a chopper being your first bike. His son's still in the hospital for that.
Oh, so it messed me up pretty bad. I was I don't.
How bad did you get messed up on that chopper?
Okay, so this had to have been, I think, July when I wrecked that. But right before that, my brother had passed away on a drilling rig.
So on a drilling rig.
On a drilling rig. And I don't remember, maybe it was him passing away. Like this 3 month, 6 month time span of my life was pretty havoc. It reeked of havoc. And I don't remember a whole bunch. But so I believe my brother passed away. It was on a rig. He was my younger brother. I still have one more left. Hopefully he's doing well. And so he passed away. I had this chopper. I wrecked the chopper and tore damn near my left shoulder off, all the cartilage down both sides of my back, had road rash across my face, stage 3 trauma. I ended up, so a good friend of mine, Dale, and I were out riding, put, 150 miles on the bikes that day. I wasn't wearing a helmet. We were out towards Lakey by Hondo, right? We're running around, and was it 07? Yeah, it had to have been 07. So we were still in Hondo then. Somewhere around there. So from 03, let me back up to 07 or 8, we were in Hondo. So that time frame in that house we bought. And I remember it going, the back tire popping off, so it's a rigid, right? No suspension. The back tire popped off the pavement. And I remember this thing going into a ditch and the forks folding over. I stood up and tried to lock up the brakes, and that was it. That's all I remember. I woke up in a ditch about 35 feet the other side of the road, and I couldn't move. And my buddy's standing over me, and I'm like, I can't move. It's pain. And he's like, I'm so sorry. We're going through this. And I go back out and come to, go back out, come to. And he's picking ants off of me, the big red ants. And at that point, I was like, I can't feel my legs. And he was like, I don't know what to do. I went back out. Woke up, the state trooper standing over me, and he's going to write me a ticket for not having a motorcycle license or a helmet.
But you're suffering stage 3 trauma. Let's get the ticket first.
About this, right? So I went back out, woke up in the ambulance, all my clothes cut off, and I'm cold, and I'm strapped in this thing, and my shoulder's completely off. This is tore off my chest, and every time it turns, I feel bones grind, and I'm like, stop turning, and I'm going through this. I wake up in Brooke Army Medical Center. They were in a neck brace. Prior to that, I never had claustrophobia. I wake up in this neck brace, and I'm freaking out. I want out. It's like a caged animal. And
I'm getting kind of freaky feeling
like, you can't move. You need to stay there. We're still running tests. You got MRIs and CAT scans. You got all this. And 2 days later, the next day, they were going through, and they're like, you don't have a broken back, but you do have these problems in your shoulder, and you're going to need this and this and this. And so I get better in the hospital. I have a vacation with my wife to go on. This is probably Monday. Saturday, we're supposed to fly out to the Virgin Islands.
Oh, no.
And so Tuesday or Wednesday, I wake up, and I had hit all the morphine I could, and they were like, sir, you're going to have to get up and walk. And I'm like, give me some more morphine, I will, but I'm going on vacation. My wife's like, look, we're going to cancel the vacation. And I'm like, no, you're not. We're going. So I finally make it up out of bed, and I just barely walk around the hospital. They let me go. As long as I could walk, they let me go. So I get home, we pack up, we go on vacation for 2 weeks to the Virgin Islands. I'm in a sling and my face is messed up. I still got some pictures. I think some of them are on social media about just
Dude, you need to share those pics.
trashed. And so we go there. I stay drunk on banana rum and pain pills for like 2 weeks. Come back.
I think we had a great time.
Pretty sure we did.
Oh my God.
And come back, and then I have to go back to the rig. Right. So my brother, the burial service,
But you
vacation.
can't work.
Well, I'm in a sling, but eventually I got to go back to work, right?
Yeah,
I got a family to provide.
Right, but how are you going to do that all jacked up?
You do it, right? So it's something I realize now that nobody explained back then is when you can control your brain, when your mind is stronger than your emotions,
Yes.
there's things you can do that most people don't realize.
That's very true.
So nobody explained that back then. I just knew I had to go do it. I didn't have a choice, or my family wasn't going to eat. Go back to work. This was probably like a 2-month time frame I was off from the time my brother died, because I had some sick leave, and I had some paid medical leave from a piece of metal in my face from another accident on a rig. So I was using up some of those days. Motorcycle wreck, I was using that. Then I get back. I go to work. My other little brother was working on the same rig I was on. He showed up. It was our first night back, and crazy thing, he just couldn't take it. It was too much, because the other brother that passed away was on a rig too, right? And his accident was on the way to the rig. So this traumatic
So he was having an
scenario,
emotional response.
right?
Okay.
And so I just said, go home. Like, you're okay. We'll get somebody to come in. So I had somebody else come in. My supervisor, my boss, the superintendent, sent somebody to come in. They sent this kid in. I think he was 22 or 23.
Mm.
It was about 1:30 in the morning. I go to lay down, and this is up in Colorado, right? We have winds, we have, cold door. We have doors we close for heaters to keep rooms warm and stuff on rigs. And 1:30, I'm laying down, and I hear this running through my house as a rig manager, and he's like, he cut his hand off. He cut his hand off, and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I fly up out of bed. I'm in a sling. I'm like hopping around trying to get my pants on. One-legged man in an ass-kicking contest.
Right. Yeah.
I'm headed to the door, and I open my door, and there's this kid. I'm still messed up. I'm still recovering. And this kid is standing there holding his hand, looking at me.
So he really did
Cut his hand off.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what the hell? Like, why me? What's going on?
Yeah.
Right. And so I go through this process of getting dressed. I come back out. He's washing his hand in rig water and pouring milk on it. And he's smoking a cigarette and changing clothes. And the only thing is the main artery to his hand wasn't severed. That was the only thing that wasn't severed. So there's knife valves on rigs that air will push this valve closed. And it's a thick, like half, 3/4, 1 inch valve. It'll push it closed with a high air cylinder and seal it. But there was a wash in the rubber that it sealed up against, which allowed that main artery. So it was pumping blood to his hand, but blood was coming out of his hand. So he's going through all this. We call Air Life up on the mountain. It lands. We get him loaded up. They get him to the hospital. And at that point, that was one of those moments in my life where, what the hell am I doing?
What am I doing with my life here?
Yeah.
This is extremely dangerous. What am I getting out of it?
And at that point, I don't know. I was making $140,000 a year, working
Good money.
2 weeks on,
Yeah.
2 weeks off. Like, it was good.
Yeah.
Again, more money than I kind of knew what to do with.
Yeah.
I wasn't saving. Nobody back then. I was saving a bank account, which is bullshit, by the way. So
Preaching to the choir.
so I go through this process, and they come out and they talk to me about, if you would have been out there watching him, and if you would have been at 1:30 in the morning supervising.
So they start lecturing you on everything that you got wrong, even though you're asleep at 1:30 in the morning.
It's and you know what?
Let me guess, you just put in a 14-hour day beforehand.
I did, and I realized, all right, you're right. You can't argue with that. If I would have been there, but there's a lot of times in our life, if we would have been there, the shit wouldn't have happened, or if we would have been there, the shit would have happened. So
who is to say?
That's it. So
and how is management supposed to be all seeing all the time? We're humans.
We are, and we realize that, and especially when traumatic things happen to us, we start realizing it more and more. But you still have to have a blame. It's somebody's responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
So so I leave the oil and gas industry as a rig manager on the contractor side. I put in a resume to become a company man, a consultant on a drilling rig. Better money. You're the boss man, right? The HMFIC, and so I get a call like 2 or 3 months later to go to Wyoming to be a company man. I give it a shot. Fly up there, start my consulting role, and I was making $1,600 a day then, working 14 to 14.
So what was the time gap between you saying that's it, I've had enough, and
3 months?
Okay.
And at that point, making that kind of money, being self-employed,
consultant money, baby,
I was like, shit, I'm buying me some more cars. Right? So here it comes.
Not another chopper.
No. So I started buying cars, and then I got into, I want to do another shop. I want to do something. But I didn't know what shop, but I knew I could buy a shit ton of cars. So I started buying cars, and before I know it, I think I had probably 12 or 14 muscle cars at one time lined up in a garage and a shop and a storage, and just drop a car here and take this one. I had 14 days off at a time, and I could drive a new car for 14 days every time I was home.
No, I fell into a similar scenario. Once I had my car, I bought a 10-year-old Porsche for $36,000 back in 2009. But once I got involved in the community, like started going to car shows and whatnot, and people ask what you did. Well, I'm in finance. I'm a money manager, and meet people, and eventually somebody says, "Hey, I've got this car. I need to move it kind of quick. If you pay cash, I can make you a deal right now on something."
Yeah.
And and we're talking real bargains, like holy cow, 40% off with
25 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can't say no. And that's what happened. Just deals would just land on me. So a bargain here and a bargain there, pretty much they started piling up in the front yard. Mm-hmm. And my wife's like, okay, why is there another car in the front yard? What are you doing? Well, honey, I'm going to flip that. I've looked into this flipping, she said, and until you actually sell something, you're a collector.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a collector, honey. I actually drive it.
So I didn't hear that part. I just said, I heard, why is there these cars?
Why are there cars in the yard? There's another one. What's going on here? Nothing.
Hey, I got a deal on it, right? It was on sale.
It followed me home.
Yep. So I ended up with some really big ass lifted trucks sitting on 54s, like 30 inches of lift, some 23 T buckets, and 68 Camaros with 33-inch wide MT slicks on the street ETs on the back, and 502. I think I had a 568 big block in one of them. Just stupid cars.
Very fuel efficient machines.
Yeah. And then so I'm consulting doing this, and then in 2010, like this was from 07 to 10. Like I'm banking it.
Oh yeah.
Oil field starts tanking end of 09.
Prices started coming down.
And so I started selling off cars here and there a little bit. What am I gonna do? And I got an offer to go to Algeria and consult. And I was like, well, shit. I mean, my first time on a plane was 2 years ago. And it's flying in the States. I think I can handle Algeria.
For those of you who don't know Algeria, it's across the Adriatic Sea from Italy, just north of Greece.
So I'm like, okay. They were like, well, you need a passport. All right. Well, call this guy and he can get you a passport. So I call a guy local in Houston, VIP passports. I sent him everything.
Well, was that gentleman's named Mullet?
I don't know. I think maybe Steve. But
Steve's his real name.
Yeah, maybe.
Did he have a mullet hairdo?
I don't know. I never met him. Oh. This was all like quick.
Okay.
So I sent him everything, and I got a passport. And I was like, shh, okay, that's what a passport looks like. Again, I grew up in a town of 738 people. And then just worked on drilling rigs, had shops here and there, did stuff.
And now he's an international consultant.
Aspires. Yeah, right. So they're like, well, now you need a work visa. Contact this person and send your passport to them, and they'll get you a work visa. So an Algerian work visa normally comes for 90 days at a time. So you get it, you work 90 days, you come back, you got to apply for another work visa. My shit was so rushed They sent it to to somebody in D.C. to walk it into the Algerian embassy. And I didn't know this at the time, but they put a 2-year work visa in my passport.
Score.
Well, you would think.
But
Some bitches will take advantage of you if you can stay in the country that long. So I'm flying over there.
Let me guess.
Time.
They don't want you coming home at all.
No. So I fly like either Gatwick or Paris, and I overnight a couple days, and then make it in to Algeria. The first time I land there, now I left Wyoming in February of 2009.
So you went from Wyoming straight over to Algeria.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. February of 2009, I left. It was 40 below with 40-mile-an-hour winds, roughly. In April of 2009, I land in Hassi Messaoud, Algeria, and it's like 125 degrees and no wind. I was like, what the hell did I get myself into?
For those of you who've never been to the Mediterranean Sea when it's 120 degrees, it's kind of like being in Houston.
Oh, it was rough. And so I get off the plane, they go through all my baggage, they check everything, they give me this little stamp and a paper, and they're like, write down everything you come into the country with. So I write it down. I didn't know. Whatever you write down, you got to leave the damn country with. So if you got any cash or anything, you can't give it away. They track all this shit.
Oh, wow.
So they load me on a van, they close the curtains, take me to base camp. Next morning, they're like, okay, you got to leave at 4 a.m, get on a plane, and go fly down to the middle of the Sahara Desert in Salah.
That's over in the continent of Africa.
Yeah. I'm smack dab in the middle of the Sahara Desert. I get off the plane there, and I get in this little bitty SUV, Isuzu, whatever they are, and there's a driver that doesn't speak any English. I'm just learning Arabic. And then I have the Algerian military. There's 4 of them in a little SUV and 4 of them behind me, and we take off. And for a while, I'm going back and forth doing this
between the Sahara Desert and Algeria.
And the U.S. right? So I'm on the rig, and normally it's 30 days in country. You come home for 30, you go back for 30. So it's 30 and 30 rotation with a 90-day work visa. Not for this white boy.
For a 2-year work visa, what do they do to you?
So I get on a rig, 62 days I'm there, 63. Then they take me back to Hassi, and they're like, well, we could still use you. Why don't? Because I could be in country for 90 days at a time this time. But I'm good for 2 years to not apply for another visa. So they send me to another rig for a couple weeks. And then they're like, hey, get on a plane, go to Gatwick overnight, or Paris overnight, and then come back into country 2 days later. Because it's past the 24-hour period that I've been out of the country, I can come back in. So I'd fly to Paris, 2 days or so, Gatwick. I'd come back in, they'd keep me for, 30 more days, and they're like, okay, you can go home now for a while. So I'd go home. For 2 years, I'm doing this.
That sounds exhausting.
And back and forth and back and forth. And there was one point, my last hitch over there, I think I was there for almost 70 days. We got lost in the desert for 16 hours. And when you run out of water and fuel, and you've got to try to refuel, and you don't see a rig, like, shit gets a little scary.
Yeah,
you start thinking some shit you shouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
And it was one of those times I hadn't, up until, a couple years ago, I hadn't been a really religious person or faith-based person.
Find some faith
But
in
I
that
did say
moment.
some prayers. I was like,
Right.
if you get me out of this shit or help me get out of this shit, God, I'm not coming back.
So you're kind of in the same situation that you were with the kid that got his hand cut off.
Yeah.
Only now it's you.
Yeah.
In the desert, really not certain about your future at all.
Yeah, we have no idea. I'm thinking, like, do I try to kill this mug driving and take this and get out? But I don't know my way around the desert.
And for those of you who've never been into the middle of a real desert,
no, everything is Sahara Desert. Like, you see it on TV and you think it's this gold and sand. No, the shit's red. Your clothes, they get stained red. Everywhere over there, they dig holes in the ground, and all your sewer runs into these holes, and there's flies. I got a parasite when I was over there.
People don't realize the Sahara Desert is basically the world's largest litter box.
It's nasty. It is so nasty. And the parasite I got, I actually lost 20 pounds before I came back to the States. Second to my last time over there.
How'd you get rid of the parasite?
I was eating, so I got over there, and you're supposed to rinse in the Middle East. My old man always told me, rinse all your vegetables with vinegar, and it'll kill the stuff. All right, so I did that for a while. Then I was like, you know what? I've been here long enough. Italian dressing's got vinegar. I'm going to bring some of this with me. So I bring it over, squirt it on, and I'm eating it. About 2 weeks later, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. So I start eating and eating all day. I'm eating cookies and crackers and crepes, and I'm going down to the camp, right? And some of these locations I was on, it was me as the company man. You have Sonatrach, which is the Algerian oil company, Rosneft, which is the Russian oil company. So they're working together, but they're using a Great Wall drilling rig with Chinese crews. So all this is, learning over 2 years for me. And so I'm at the one camp eating, I'm going to the next camp eating, I'm trying to eat everything I can.
And you're always hungry.
And I'm always hungry, and I'm eating.
And you're losing weight
and
while
I'm
eating like a
losing
maniac.
weight. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I get back to the States and I go to the doctor and they're like, let's check out. And he was like, you got a parasite. But good news is you've ate enough to where it hasn't eaten your stomach up. So we're going to give you some medicine. So I take some medicine, don't go in the sun, and I take all this stuff. 14 days later, I'm cleared up. Good to go. No parasite. All right.
Did you see the parasite in your bowel movement?
No, you couldn't, because they're amoebic parasites, I guess, or whatever. So they're microscopic, but they multiply so freaking fast
that they can eat all the food you can put in them.
And they'll eat your shit too, right? So when they don't have anything to eat is when they start eating your stomach lining, and your stomach lining doesn't contain nerve endings, so you don't feel it.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. So I learned all this afterwards. So then I go back over there for another hitch meaning 30 to 90 days, whatever they want me to do. And that's when we got lost in the desert. And that's when
because the parasites weren't scary enough.
Right, yeah. It is another test. And we finally, after 16 hours, found the rig. Now, granted, you're not, so when you go there, you're not allowed to take a compass or GPS or binoculars. You can't take any of that. That's for the military, the Algerian military to use. Unless you're Algerian, you can have it in the country. So over there, sand dunes shift. Yeah. You may be over there for 6 months one way, leave, and then when you come back, the sand dunes are different. Like nothing's the same.
Exactly, yeah.
So we finally found a rig. I spend 60, 70 days on the rig. I get the hell out the country. I left every fucking thing in that country. My clothes, my bag, I didn't bring jack. I got on the plane and I hauled ass back to the States. I got back and that was it. I was like, I'm not going back. I've never been back. I don't plan on going back. The shit was not for me. We're good.
Not in love with the Middle East, was he?
And I hear people all the time that talk about, well, I'm done with it, or I'm never doing that again. People say it, but when you really know, you're not going to do it again. And I won't go back. There isn't enough money they could pay me to go back to do that.
No, I hear you. I've been through those stages in my life where the sign was there. This stage is over. And when it's time, it's time.
Yep.
And if you try to make it go longer, the likelihood of your survival gets real small.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to walk away from this.
Oh, yeah. And when I was over there, I was making money and they covered the taxes and, it was decent money.
That's great. But what you go through for the money was worth what? Nothing.
But I took that money and I started a shop down in Florida. Or I bought into a shop down in Florida that was struggling to build it back up. Mm-hmm. Rev Extreme was the name of the shop. I had some patents. We built a lot of products they were patented products. First oil separating catch can.
Oh, really?
Aluminum with multiple baffles was Rev Extreme, right? So then everybody came out with it. But grew that for a while. And I had come in and it was rough. The owner was struggling. I had coached him and helped him. And that's when I started thinking, okay, coaching is like, I understand a little bit about coaching. Do I know it? No, I never really hired a coach other than, school coaching or whatever, right? And built that up and came back to Texas. Florida wasn't my thing. I'm not.
How long were you in Florida?
A year. Had a condo for a year down there, house for a year. And then we leased it and then came back just to make sure everything was good.
Did you have children yet at that point?
Yeah. Yes. My first child was born in 2005. He's now 16, Aiden. Who's, oh my gosh, racing. Noah's 13. He was born in 2009. And then Lily, my little girl, she'll be 8 next month. She was born in 14, I think, somewhere in 15. I always get the years screwed up. It's difficult for me. But yes,
your wife's gonna watch this podcast, and you're already in trouble.
Without a doubt. And so I had 2 children when we went to Florida to do this. And it was one of those where, like, headstrong, I'm going to do it. You getting on board or what? Are you coming with me? She was like, yeah, I'm going to come with you. Let's go.
I was going to say, you must have a very supportive wife who just loves you.
It's been a good ride. I've put that woman through hell, and she's still there. She's taught me a lot. And I think, this past May was 25 years together and 20 years of marriage.
Wow.
At 43. So over half our life we've been together. It hasn't been easy.
I've been married 15 years as of this year.
Congrats.
And I'm with you, brother. I am with you. I mean, she loves me. Clearly, she loves me. She wouldn't have been through any of this if she didn't. And boy, have I been. And of course, I've had my fill of her on more than one occasion, and not been kind and patient like I should have been.
Oh yeah.
You get to a breaking point, and God love them, they get to go through it with you.
Oh my gosh, we could have a whole nother podcast on marriage. There's so much that, especially in the last year, that I've learned. Hiring a marriage coach, going through some programs that have just further accelerated what we can be in a marriage, what really comes out of it, and getting to where we want to be with each other versus just working on a marriage, actually growing.
It's hard.
It is.
Because
it can be.
Because we still go through that, like, geez, I don't want to talk to her right now, or I don't want to hear it right now, or I could go all day without having to hear from it. And we went through those stages, and I'm with you. There's a third person required at some point to hold this together.
Oh, without a doubt.
And both of us haven't had our parents in our lives for a long time, so there wasn't that parental guidance or that parental encouragement of, when I was your age, this is what I went through, and this is how we got around that. I didn't have any of that.
She's got that, and my in-laws are amazing. My family is, I love them, but they're dysfunctional as hell. Like I can't talk to them. I just don't want my kids to see that lifestyle.
Ouch.
But that third person for us, up until 6 months ago, I would have said there wasn't one, and then now I say that third person's God for us. Like it's us and God together, right? It doesn't. A lot of people look at, again, we can get into another whole thing on that. But a lot of people look at God first and then them as a relationship. I think it comes together as three, and that's how it's got to function.
Well, a marriage is a promise before God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
God better be playing a role in it, or it's doomed.
And it used to be difficult. Looking back now, it was always trying to work and fix things. And hiring a coach and going through programs that benefit us, that we figure out if we want the same thing or want the same goals or want the same result or make the same decisions if they're big, now has helped us just leaps and bounds. Everything is just amazing. Fun, smooth, easygoing. Talk times are easy. Fun times are easy. It's not mundane, and it's not working on it. It's growing.
That's awesome.
And so she went down there with me.
To Florida. Did she bring the kids and all that?
Yeah, she'd fly and visit, come back to visit her mom. And while that transition happened, I leave Algeria. And when I started working on rigs back in 2000, there was a Dave Carpenter was one of the company men on a rig I started working on, roughnecking.
Oh, so you have a whole nother David Carpenter.
And a guy named Mark. Shoot, I'd have to look it up again. Anyways, these two guys were company men on a rig I worked on. And I always said, I'm going to be a company man. This was for Shell Oil Company, and I was working for H&P at the time.
And Shell is quite the company.
Yes.
If you're going to hitch your wagon to a company, Shell is as good as they get.
I would agree with that. I mean, it's a Dutch company, but they're good.
Royal Dutch.
So got some good race teams.
Big fans.
So now we go all the way to 2000 into 2009. I'm out of Algeria, and one of those years. I'm interviewing with Shell, and the two guys that were my company men are now interviewing me to be a company man for Shell.
What?
And they were, that we talked, and they remembered me, and anyways, got hired, went to work for them. 2010 started. Now, going back for those big companies, when they hire you, usually it's college degrees, it's things like that. I quit school in 10th grade. I dropped out the third week of 10th grade for beating the crap out of somebody that slapped a little girl in a school bus. I left school. Then I worked, all throughout diesel mechanic, Cummins, Southern Plains, went to school for welding technology in Austin, joined the union in Austin, got a welding, associates in welding technology. Then I go to work for Shell. Their program, I had 10 plus years. They came out, this was after BP's big Macondo and burnt the rig burning down offshore. Yeah. And they said, everybody's going to be a degreed engineer of some sort that works for us on rigs. So
high roll.
10th grade dropout. I got associates that I didn't pay for, which was cool. Yeah. I got my GD, but and then now here I am going through these courses and stuff with this oil and gas company. And becoming a degreed engineer. I'm like, shit, okay. I'm getting a college degree, another one. And I decided that I wanted to do
top of the world, Ma.
to do this shop some more in Florida. So I'm back and forth, and I'm doing all this, and then as I'm growing with Shell, I decide, okay, it's time for me to step out. I want to sell and get some royalties, sell this company. So then I started looking at what does it take to sell a company. This is the first company to where I'm like,
okay,
what can I sell?
Right.
Get some mailbox money, royalty money. What am I going to get out of it?
Yeah.
So that's when your brain starts shifting.
Yep.
Right into now I want to exit. Right?
Yep. Let's talk about creating value.
I never heard the saying until years later of you want the day you come in is when you start creating your exit strategy.
Yes, exactly.
Never heard that, but it makes sense now that I hear it. So exit strategy, I'm out. So some other guys take it over, and I'm back to Texas, working for Shell. I'm traveling,
getting that mailbox money.
A little bit of mailbox money. I'm doing some hot rod stuff here and there, and I'm all over. I'm U.S. land. I'm deep water, ultra deep water. We was 9,600 foot of water, 180 miles out in the Gulf. Woo. on a big rig, a semi-submersible. Jim Day is a shit. If you want to look it up on YouTube, go to Noble Jim Day and you'll see a big ass floating drilling rig. That's what I was on. That's the company man out there. So one of them, they usually run 3. You run a lead and then a day and a night. So I wasn't the lead, but I was a day. And not to say the day's the strongest one, right? I think the lead watches over him, but I was still young, a little arrogant, but it taught me a lot.
I was never in charge of anything that important.
Oh, it was crazy to go from land rigs spending $80,000 a day as a burn rate, to an offshore rig spending $600,000 a day as a burn rate.
A day?
A day. So
it's basically 10x almost.
Yes, and it's that'll just show you the scale, the mass scale size of an operation. Oof. And planning 2-3 weeks ahead and being 180 miles out. I mean, hell, the chopper ride to get out there was 2 hours.
I was gonna say, how long does it take to fly out there?
So
or how many days or a full day on a boat?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so going through all that, and then I come back. I was offshore, and I get a call from Chevron. They want to interview me. They're looking for a superintendent. Now, that's the next step in where I want to go.
At Shell,
but Chevron's now offering this to me. So I go to Chevron, and the guys I know, Shell, and I approach them and I talk to them. And they're like, man, you should take it. That's really stupid money. And I was living in Spring Branch, north of San Antonio at the time.
Okay.
Had a house on the Guadalupe, 8 acres, just totally pimp place, or right by the Guadalupe. And then so... To go work for Chevron, I would need to move to Houston. Oh. I swore leaving the hill country, I was like, I'd never move to Houston. Screw that. and so I take the offer. It was, they're going to sell my home. They're going to help me move. They're going to cover closing costs, like all the stuff that comes with being an executive for a company now. And I'm going from the field to I'm going to have an office on the 43rd floor of a high-rise downtown.
That's like big time.
Yeah, but I got to cover all of Mid-Con. I'm a drilling superintendent for all of the Mid-Continent North America.
From Canada down to Mexico in the middle of the country.
Yes. And so it was one of those decisions where it's like, okay, this is where I want to go. My career, I'm the employee mindset, my side hustle. Tony Watley, he'll know.
I was going to say, you've read his book, right?
So
we really need to have Tony on here.
That would be good.
Yeah. And I've known Tony for years. That's the funny part.
Amazing dude. Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, genuine.
And of course, he came from that same industry.
Oil and gas.
Yeah, and an engineer.
Yeah. So, we go through the process of moving and coming here to look for houses. And we look in Fulshire and Katy and Sugar Land and Houston and Tomball and the Woodlands. And we're driving all around looking for these houses. And ended up, we're driving down Crichton Road just south of Conroe. We go to look at a house over there. And it was, the house we were looking at was next door to a neighbor's drilling superintendent named Cricket, Neighbors Drilling, one of the contractor companies that I had known.
Okay.
And I had his rigs working, some of his rigs working for me, for Chevron.
Oh, wow.
Look at the house. Well, I was in a big lifted trucks and shit too. The house we looked at, the truck wouldn't fit into the archway to get into the back part. So I was like, it won't work. We're leaving. And my wife was like, pull into this part of the neighborhood. We pull in and there's this house on the corner and it's got this for sale sign. But it's not online. It's got an MLS number, but it's not registered anywhere. And I was like, honestly, we can't afford this shit. Like, this is.
So, and I'm curious because if you're working in a high rise downtown, why are you looking at a house in Conroe? That's a long
So you got
drive.
HOV, it's an hour drive. What's an hour? When you live in a hill country, where I used to live, just to get to the grocery store was a 30-minute drive. Just to get to HEV.
Okay.
Right, so it's an hour round trip to go get groceries, not including a grocery store from where I lived. Then I had a ranch out in north of Austin, Gatesville. To get anywhere there, you're looking at 45 minutes one way.
Because I did that commute for 5 years for my first shop, and I couldn't believe how much money I saved by moving my shop from Post Oak Road while living in the Woodlands and bringing my shop out to Tomball. It was basically $1,200 a month.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, especially nowadays with gas prices. Holy shit!
With that, my wife was bringing $1,000 a month just taking my daughter to school and back twice a day. 30-minute drive each way.
Yeah, and
then to the barn for her horse practice, and that just adds another 40 minutes right there, or 30 minutes to the thing. So
time. So we move to this house. We picked a house in Conroe. We bought it. We closed on it. I put a large chunk down, so it wasn't a jumbo loan thing. Wanted everything to work out just
right. Some
right.
good equity going on. Yeah.
Get it? That home anywhere else would have probably been $1 to $1.2 million, but in Conroe it was
$750.
Really good pricing.
600. Yeah.
And got it. Moved in. Working downtown. And this was 14. I went to work for them.
Okay.
16, the end of 14, I went to work for them. August, I think it was. In 16, when everything started tanking, the end of 15 and 16, the oil and gas started tanking, laying people off, stressed to the max. There's so much internal shit that goes on politics that I was done. I had enough, and I left. And March of 16, I left, filed for another LLC, decided I wanted to go back consulting on rigs.
I thought you said you weren't going to do that anymore.
Algeria. I wasn't going to Africa. I wanted to get out of the corporate environment and go back to rigs where people were, where communication was. It was fun. It was outside.
And you're watching a task get completed every day.
Yes. You're hands-on, you're in the mud with them. And during that process, I had started another company up called Lone Star Speed Shop.
Okay.
While I was end of Shell, beginning of Chevron, going through. That Lone Star Speed Shop, I'm pretty sure it was in the transition time or right before. I had gotten a call. It was when Jesse James was bringing Austin Speed Shop to Austin, leaving California. I got a call. Somebody wanted to buy my shop and my apparel line. I said, hell yeah, this is one of these moments where it's like, really, what the hell? I thought, I got a little cocky and was like, I'm going to make some money on this deal. All the other business I'd made some money, but the profit margins weren't.
And those other companies, you were trying to sell them.
Yes.
This is the first time I bet somebody called you out of the blue, said, I want to buy your company.
It was a broker, and somebody said, my client wants, and I'm like, shit, game on. So they sent me an offer, and I'm like, not even close. This is what I want. And I know, like,
not even close.
I know where this is going. I put 2 and 2 together. This is in Spring Branch to Hill Country. Jesse's in Austin. It makes sense for Lone Star Speed Shop to be headed that way. The apparel line was legit. No. We went back and forth a little bit. All right, my client declines your offer. Thank you very much. Damn, I lost out. A month later,
you and I both know that no is just the beginning of another conversation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A month later, I get an email. It says, my client would like to entertain this offer, but this is the final offer. And I sat on it for like 2 days. And I was like, where else am I going to find this kind of return? We're talking over 1,000% return of what I had in this company.
In what period of time?
7 months.
Ooh, in less than a year?
Less than a year.
It's no brainer, brother.
And I sent an email back, and it's probably one of the stressful enjoy times where you're like, I will take it. Send. And I'm waiting. Nothing.
You probably said something more professional, like along the lines of, I would like to accept your offer.
I think I said I'll take it. Honestly, I was a little cocky back then.
I'll take your money.
I'll take it. So money goes into an escrow. We do the transaction, do the audits, go through everything. And
open the books.
Yeah. And I got a little nervous. I was like, okay. And deal closed. I still didn't get to meet who bought it. I didn't know who bought it. And a couple months later, I open up and checking the website, location, checking everything out. It was all out off-road here in Houston. Not even Jesse James, right? So All Out bought it, made a chunk of money. I think they really pushed the apparel line. I don't think they did anything with it shortly after that. They kind of just let it die out. But it was one of those where, was I a big enough pain in the ass, or did I have something good enough that they wanted and that's why? And I got to thinking, okay, if I build businesses to either build them really good and sell them be the best, or be a big enough pain in the ass to the really big players so they want it,
that's it.
I'm going to make some money.
Well, that exactly. That's your value.
So I started looking, okay, energy drinks. And I started going down rabbit holes with stuff like that. Moving here, Chevron, going back consulting, buying classic cars, Mustangs, Camaros, some Pro Street stuff, some Pro Touring stuff here in Conroe. Then I was like, you know what? I see a lot of fucking Lamborghinis in the Woodlands.
There's a lot of Lamborghinis in the Woodlands.
More Lamborghinis per capita, I understand, than anywhere else. Per capita.
Well, we've had this conversation with a couple of people. Like, for example, I had Tino on. Mm-hmm. He's the general manager of Porsche North Houston. And then we had Eric. And Eric is, I think he does commercial part sales for Lamborghini of Houston.
Yeah.
And years ago, when I first started playing with Lamborghinis, and I learned that Lamborghini of Houston is usually number one in the country in new Lamborghini unit sales. And the 1 or 2 times a year that they're not,
Newport Beach.
Usually Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
That Orange County, that area. And so, people don't understand how much money is really here. And that's part of the fun with the trees. It hides.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
So
I know of a billionaire who has a 30-car collection in one of his buildings on his property that I know is worth at least $100 million.
Without a doubt. I think I know who you're talking about.
And then there's another guy who's got a 46-car Ferrari collection only here in the Woodlands.
It's insane.
And that's just 2 people I know of.
Hashtag goals, right?
And of course, I deal with my own problems. Like, my wife's like, okay, you've got all these ridiculous cars. We just moved ourselves into a 5-acre property with a 4-car garage and a 2,400 square foot shop in the back.
I'm on my way.
And I'm thinking I'm doing something right. And I still have a 1,200 square foot commercial space that I've got stuff in there, and I'm always having to move out of the way. And, I'm like, I gotta get rid of all these cars. I just get down to cars I enjoy. I wind up owning things for periods of time without ever using them, just because I got a deal on it. And, I've got cars coming out on my ears.
Yeah.
That's how wealthy or that's how successful I am. But then, you see a guy who has a beautifully manicured shop, and here's 30 Ferraris, each one of them worth more than everything I own.
I'm gonna use Chavez as saying "F you money."
It's serious F you money, and and it's funny because my wife used to complain about her previous husband. We've both been married one time before, and she lived in a nice part of Kingwood. And she goes, we're always the poor couple among our friends. And so when she married me, I had a lot more means than her first husband. But we kind of laugh about it because, wow, I'm still in a situation where we're the poor couple.
You know what? I'll take it because it just pushes me more and more and more.
Oh, my God. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. In fact, I did a post this morning about that where there's a little blurb from Charlie Munger, who Warren Buffett's business partner for, he's 97 years old, 98. And he made a brilliant statement at the beginning of his little video where he says, greed does not drive the economy. Envy drives it.
Yeah.
And all I could think was, that's exactly it. And the thing is, among the people who I look at and go, yeah, I'm the poor one here, I'm not jealous or envious of anything, because like the cars I have is more than I ever hoped to have for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm becoming a bit of a crotchety old man or a cagey old man. I'm not in love with the new cars at all.
I'm with you.
I mean, like, so all the great cars that you can buy, only one of them is even available with a manual transmission, and it's a special model that's detuned a little bit for the manual transmission. And to me, I'm like, okay, nah, you're just losing something now. And sure, in my race car, I want a bang stick or a paddle shift because I'm trying to turn a hot lap. I'm racing. My street car, it's nice to have, but I promise you, but it makes you lazy, and I don't want that. And so I'm find myself purposely keeping my cars that have manual transmissions to keep from being lazy.
Oh yeah,
and
they're fun.
Oh, a lot more fun to drive.
You can tear some shit up.
But it keeps me sharp as a driver.
Yeah.
And hand-eye coordination, my mental sharpness, and plus it's a lot of fun when I can go on course. Say in my 996 turbo 6-speed manual, and I've got all these kids in their brand new GT3 RSs, and they're having a hard time staying with me manually shifting my my non active suspension car with no ABS, no traction control. I'm having to drive my car, and they're doing all they can to stay with me. And I, as an old man, I'm like, come on, kid, step it up.
Oh yeah, no.
What's your excuse?
I get it, but there's some cars out there that fast. So,
well, and that's it. They're getting faster and faster, but it's not because of the driver. The car's fast.
The car's fast. Yeah.
And I mean, I've dealt with that with a number of my clients, because I focus on driving enthusiasts in my client base. So it's a small shop. It's a smaller client base. Sure, they want their car to look good, but they're drivers. And I'll never forget this one customer. I prepped his Ferrari 458 Italia for a track day at Coda. He went out, had a great time, came in on Monday, wanted to sit down and talk about it. A little bit nervous. I'm like, what did I do wrong? And this guy has held a pro license in SCCA. He's humble. He goes, Frank, it was Spec Miata pro class. Dude, that's a pro license. I've never had one of those. I'm just a driving instructor, who gets to go race in amateur races here and there, but I'm not. I'm no Alec Udell.
Yeah, no kidding.
Who of us is? So, but in that, I said, so what was the issue? He asked me, he said, Frank, that Ferrari was really fast at Coda. Now, knowing that I'd gotten to 167 in my Huracan 610-4, and this is a car I set up with corner balance, align, my wheels, my brakes, my exhaust, car was right. And hitting 167, I'm sitting there going, I can't believe I can go that fast on a track. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I was hitting 171, Frank. Like, wow, I did a better job on his car. hit my own. And then I started rationalizing, well, it's 2-wheel drive, not 4-wheel drive. It's lighter, you know.
I mean, you know, it is. Like, mine's converted to rear-wheel drive. I hit 170 on the back end. Well, Danny did running. He took mine out on Coda. 5 laps in, we lost brakes.
That's a sick feeling.
Holy shit. I hit the e-brake, swung around, hit the dirt going backwards, and then we took off again.
And so he said to me, Frank, if I lose it at the end of the straight, the big straight, that 40-mile-an-hour left-hand turn, Frank, if I lose it there, what will happen? And I chuckled. I said, well, those airbags, that car's only good for up to about a 100-mile-an-hour crash. After that, customer, they'll be hosing you out of the car. Well, Frank, what should I do? And I told him, I said, well, I mean, you're a licensed racer at a pretty high level. You're not going to get any faster driving a street car. I mean, you're not going to become a better driver driving any street car on the track. So you got to decide what you want to do. If you want to get a race car, I'll help you shop a race car. I will prep a race car, and I will be there and support a race car for you to be on track. I mean, he's a well-to-do business owner, wife, and 2 small kids. Track days for fun unless you're making money at it.
That's it.
You know, and you got somewhere to be on Monday morning. So you either need to step up to a full-blown race car or go buy something slow and fun to drive.
It's AMG GT4.
Anyway, so he came back with a week later, he showed up with a Boxster S.
Okay.
One of the nicest ones I've ever seen. Like, I can't believe this 2000 or 99, 2001 model car with 14,000 miles on it. It looked like it just came off the showroom floor. Can you prep it for Coda next weekend, Frank? Sure, get started. Comes back from Coda. That was the right idea. He said I had to do everything right to hit 119 on the back straight, and I was having the time of my life doing it. And he said I was there with a buddy of mine with the new GT3 RS. And he said, hey, you look like you're having a lot of fun out there. You want to drive my car and I'll drive yours? I'm like, yeah, sure. I said, so what'd you think of the new car? He goes, oh, it's insanely fast. I said, what was your best lap out there? He goes, I don't know. I went out for 1 good lap, and I brought it back in. I said, well, how come? It was boring. It was doing everything for me. How about your buddy in the Boxster? He goes, he stayed out the whole damn session and stole an extra lap. And he came in going, I got to get one of these. I've forgotten how to drive. I'm missing apexes. I'm in the wrong gear. Holy cow. I couldn't hit 120 down the back straight. I don't know how to drive a car anymore.
Insane.
You know, what do you say to that?
You don't.
But I mean, that's the customer base I service with my little business and my group of hardcore old slow guys who want to shift their own stuff.
Old slow guys, come on! I've seen your rides. Give me a break. So, I mean, speaking of that, like you're Gallardo. So when I got here and I wanted to get into the exotics, like, oh, there's a lot of Lambos here, right? I started searching and looking, and what do I want? I want to daily drive this thing. I want to tune a little bit. I want something light and fast, but yet something that isn't going to kill me and maintenance like that damn Countach did.
Oof. Yeah.
Everywhere I looked, everybody said, dude, just get a Gallardo, a pre-LP. You can beat it up. They're cheap enough. So I shopped around. Everybody I'd known had rarer cars. Not rare, but rarer cars. Yeah. I was like, I want a Super G. I want a Super Leggera. I want to convert it rear-wheel drive. I want to strip the exhaust. I want sub 2,900 pounds. I want to tune it to 640 horsepower in between there. Whatever I can get out of this car and still go have fun.
Oh, yeah. That car's a riot in 2-wheel drive.
So I did. And then maintenance came because the clutch and the E-gear actuator and a potentiometer.
Ooh, you've got paddle shift.
So 35 grand later, Harris at H&S Motorsports goes through and it's like, hey, it's just your potentiometers. Change them. Change them. Boom. Car shifts. Shifts so good, like it hits hard.
I can't believe it.
It's back to where it was, but everything's new and ass in now.
Yeah.
And then we wrap it. So prior to I get this car, we're doing all this stuff, and this was prior to maintenance, and HTX comes into the picture. I'm back into just cars, doing my thing, making some money. I have some investment accounts. I have a couple other companies that I'm doing. technology, some blockchain companies, solar, just different stuff that I want to tinker with. And these are all in my pipeline, my project, this energy drink company. And I get the Super G, I'm driving it for a bit, and there's a rally coming up. I said, okay, I'm gonna go on a rally. It was to Dallas and back. 3-day weekend, full of driving, fun. And I met a lot of really cool people on that rally. I go to HTX, there's another shop that has my car. HTX Customs Oscar, my business partner, he's printing all the stickers for this rally and everything else. I said, well, listen, my car's getting PPF and paint correction. It's getting all this stuff done at another shop. Send the stickers over there. They're like, no. The only body that's putting my kind of stickers on this is what I was told from the guy putting on the rally, is HTX Customs. So if you want the stickers on your car, you got to take it over there.
I love it.
I said, I'll have it over there the day before the rally. He said, okay. The day before the rally, I roll in.
How many other cars did they get their stickers, though?
I think there was probably 60 cars on that rally. And I pull it in. Oscar puts the stickers on. He's looking over. He's like, man, who did the work? I explained. He's like, ugh. He's like, all right. He's like, well, when you take these stickers off, your clear coat's going to come off of this part of your paint. You're going to need to repaint it. I was like, all right, what'd you charge to repaint it? We go through, we talk. Yeah. I see his shop, and I see potential, and I see he's doing really awesome things. And if it comes from quite a few people that recommend only he does the work, obviously he's good. Not knowing wraps and that side of the industry.
Because it's a whole science unto itself.
It's insane. I go on a rally. Oscar's there. We have fun. Everybody, we didn't talk a whole bunch, but we ran. Like, he's got a 600 and some horsepower BMW E36 M5 90 whatever. Fucker's fast.
Oh yeah.
And it's a stick shift. It's gated. And so we get back. I'm gonna leave the stickers on, rally stickers, for a couple months. Then a couple months later goes by, I go to pull the stickers off and I'm driving it. And the car just started acting up. It wouldn't want to go into certain gears, so I took it in for service. I get it back out, and in the meantime, it's in for service. I had gone to Oscar for something else, one of my other vehicles. It was getting a wrap done or tint. And then Oscar had approached me, and we talked about business and coaching, because I had been coaching a couple other clients throughout the U.S. on their businesses. I offered to bring them on. We start talking, and I see the potential of the business itself and where it's held back. And I asked him, where do you want to take the company? What do you want to do? What does it look like to you in a year or 2 years? Or where do you want to be? We go through this whole process. We have a big whiteboard session, and we decide where it needs to go. So strategically, everything gets laid out. A couple months later, I come in as a partner, financially back, and we go from 2,400 square feet facility, could fit 3 or 4 cars, to 8,000 square foot, fully AC'd, insulated facility, big mural shop, 1,600 square foot built out offices, meeting rooms. And then we get state-of-the-art printers and plotters and build out a vinyl room and in-house graphic artists. We got 12 employees now. You know, on average, that company was doing about $300,000 to $400,000 a year with Oscar as the main guy, with 2 or 3 people helping him. That company, year to date, the first 2 quarters, and this is in the new facility, has done over $750,000.
Nice.
Over 3 quarters. So you know where it's headed.
Yeah.
Getting growing,
The
and that's
trajectory's
without
laid. Yeah.
That's without any heavy marketing. So the opportunity for growth is there. Now we're looking at expanding out, talking to some other shops and partnering up and doing their wraps. And some of them are on TV. They just signed a big 5-year contract with Truck Trend or Trend Motorsports or whatever it is. And then another friend of mine that has a shop, we're looking at expanding into a 25,000 square foot facility, still keeping the one we have to specialize and service that region, but to have a big headquarters and run a big part of the business out of 25,000 square feet. That's where HTX came in. And I came in August, September, and it's been phenomenal. Oscar and I, we work very well together. He runs more the operation side. I like interacting. I like going and doing things. So then we get my car back and we wrap it. And the wrap now, everybody said, well, you know, you own a shop now. You got. I'm a pretty quiet guy when it comes to wraps. It's hard to believe, right? But they said, get loud, get loud. And I said, okay, what's loud? I want to do like a satin metallic gray with some flat matte black stripes or something.
Like my GT3.
Yes. And they kept
for those of you who haven't seen his Gallardo, the term verde plays heavily in the color description.
Stupid. and we're gonna wrap it. I want to rewrap it again here before long.
And I can't say anything because I'm driving a Arancio Gallardo myself.
Yeah,
very Arancio.
But it's really fucking fast. Yours is.
Well, it's an underground. It's an underground car. So I mean, it's almost. With this stage R car I built at Underground, the only thing left in it that's actually a Lamborghini is the interior and the body panels.
Yeah.
I mean, I did suspension upgrades, brake upgrades, plus the wheel upgrade.
That's where I'm at, brake upgrades now. Going to Coda, MSR is not bad on my brakes.
No, it's not because there was a lot of turns.
Yeah.
And yeah, but Coda eats brakes for snacks.
Coda scared the shit out of me, and I normally don't get scared.
No, let me tell you about how bad a Gallardo is. So I put the girodisc brakes on my Gallardo not long after I got it because I saw, even before I had the car built, there's so many, besides underground racing, there's so many high-powered cars in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you just separate underground racing Gallardos, you got the big turbo Vipers, the GTRs, Corvettes, and they crash. I mean, just the sheer number of cars there are in this town that are big horsepower.
That's insane.
And so almost none of the drivers have any driver training to speak of. And they go out and they drive the car more than it can do. And in every instance, when you see these cars crashed, they're crashed in the front.
Oh, yeah.
And guess why that is?
No, I get it.
So when I did the girodisc brake upgrade, telling them what I was doing with the car, I said, well, what pad do you want to use? And their recommendation, if you're just going to do this, then just do the one-step upgrade from the standard pad from Lamborghini. It's just called a Super Sport pad, and I didn't know much about it. And so we went to film a video at MSR Houston with the car. And we putted around and just did enough to make the video look good. But I wanted to, put a couple laps on it and see what she could do. And we were going counterclockwise. So I was coming out of Diamond's Edge onto the long straight in the back. Put the hammer down. Now, to give you a point of reference, the fastest I'd ever hit on that back straightaway was 145. And I did it in my 911 Turbo, and I matched that in my Rubicon. And that's getting a perfect launch.
Yeah, I'm not hitting nowhere near that speed on the back.
And in the brakes, I'm not sure I'm going to make it this time. So in the times I've done it, I did it one time all day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a perfect launch in the back. We're probably going to die on corner entry, but I saw the 145. And even then, it was a hairball moment on corner entry. Like, used all the brakes, all the suspension, all the tires, everything, up to the edge of the grass. Like, okay, even though I did it, they wouldn't have been part of a fast lap.
Right.
I just did the one thing. So I'm not trying to do anything like that in the car. I'm just trying to feel a lap. And because of the turbos, getting them timed to come off the corner is a little bit tricky. So I was late coming off the corner. But I was in third gear and let it...
Yeah, that car's so fast.
So when it launched up in third gear, I did I short shifted into fourth because then I didn't want to run it out. And as I got into fourth, I glanced at the speedometer and it was blowing past 150, and I was only halfway down the straightaway. And I shut it down right there because I didn't know if I had enough brakes to... I wasn't about to go into the brake markers. And once I got off the gas, because I saw it hit 150, I was watching the brake markers. It got down to 140. I can start braking here. And I just started pumping the brakes because it kept getting softer and softer and softer. And I'm on turn in, and I made it. And at that point, the brake pedal was on the floor, and the little light that says brake came on the dash.
Yeah.
Got it to the shop. I was able to cool the car down and nurse it home. Got into the shop. Next day we put up on the lift, pulled the tires. And the brake pad sensor was sticking up in the air. Burned it right off.
That's where mine is right now. My brake pad sensor's burned off.
Yeah, I did it off in one straightaway at MSR. In one braking zone. So after that I was like, I need an upgrade. And so ever since, I've run a race pad. Sure, on the street, it squeals like crazy. But let me tell you what it does every time I push that pedal.
It works.
Every single time from any speed. Because, you know, I've done a couple of top end runs on public roads that I can't identify because that's illegal.
It was down in Mexico.
Mexico.
That's where we do everything.
And, you know, and I had a scare at north of 200. And, you know, I wasn't even thinking about the brakes because I know they're no good up that speed.
Yeah, no.
But the pads I have on there now are good at that speed. And I will never drive the car without pads that can't handle that speed.
So my pads can handle speed. I think my rotors, everything got so hot on Coda after 5 laps that
stock rotors can't take that kind of heat.
They were red.
Yeah.
Down in Mexico, I hit 196 prior to changing out my front splitter, and I was starting to get lift. And then I could hit the brakes. You know, downshifting helps for me. Like the paddle shifts, I use a lot of that. At MSR, it was actually Alec Udell's first class that we did down there.
That's where we met, yeah.
Yeah. That's when I went into neutral and coming around that hairpin turn on the backstretch, and the car went into neutral, and I went off in the grass because the potentiometer. So I just decided because I was using my trans a lot to downshift. Yeah. And I was doing good, getting in it, and I'd come into that turn and hit the brakes and go, and it decided, you know, we're not going to use the trans. And from 120 or 130 coming in and then throwing in a neutral in that turn, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
It scared me. Now that's fixed, and I thought, okay, I'm good. I can handle Coda pretty good, except for I can't turn off my traction control in that Superleggera without it wanting to go in automatic, the way the tune is, right?
Gotcha.
So I've got to figure out a way to turn off traction control, because every time I come around them turns, whether I'm running reverse track or not, you can hear the engine stutter because traction control wants to kick on. It's just so light. It's rear-wheel drive now. But my times have significantly increased being comfortable and knowing, don't just use my trans, use my brakes too. Use them both and get in. And I learned that at Codex with Danny. We ran through the track and he was explaining what it meant to use all the track. My oldest son would tell me all the time, Dad, use the whole track. I'm like, what the hell you think I'm doing? I'm inside. I'm on the pavement. I'm one side to the other. I never knew, as long as 2 wheels are inside that line, guess what?
You're still on track.
I'm using the whole track. He scared me to a point in my car. I was like, oh my God, are we going to stay on? I'm grabbing, I ripped the pillar off the passenger side, holding on one time so tight. And he was like, you okay? And I was like, I'm good. Just keep going, thinking in my head, are we going to be able to stay on the track? I had to get back. I think I had 2,500 miles on that set of tires. And each set of tires is $2,000 for the car, right? 2,500 miles, went and got a new set. Now everything's functioning. I just got to go. I want to run steel rotor steel. I'm not going to run carbon ceramic on the track.
No, I don't recommend it. In fact, I'm a dealer for the rotor you want to use.
Yeah.
I'll give you my cost on it.
Okay.
We'll hook you up on that.
Done. Because that's my downside. And I think
I'm still on that same set of rotors, by the way.
Really?
From that same company. I can't believe how tough they are. Wow. I put them on every car I have. I'm a huge fan of, I'll just say it, girodisc.
I'm going to have to run
and my kit girodisc is fantastic. And of course, I'm a dealer, so I get them at cost. And people say, well, for a Lamborghini or a Porsche, they're $1,000 a rotor.
That's still cheap.
Well, they're $1,000 a rotor from the factory, too, Porsche factory. What's the difference? Number one, they're a 2-piece rotor. Aluminum hat, iron disc. So what you have is significantly lighter than a regular steel rotor. Sure, it's not as light as a carbon ceramic. It kind of splits the difference. But here's the beauty of it. First of all, you will get 2 to 3 times the life out of that rotor as you will out of a factory rotor. And by the time you do actually wear that rotor down, here's what you do. As a dealer, I don't have to do this for you. You can do it directly. You take your discs, you put them back in the box they came in. You send them back to girodisc and you let them know, hey, I need new rotors. And they will take the discs off the center hats, put new ones on, put the clips back in place with their special tool with their warranty, for $250 a disc.
Game on. That saves me money in the long run.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And some people talk about Brembo this or that, and like, look, I've already talked to Brembo with their 2-piece rotors. They won't sell you just the disc.
No. I've done some big brake upgrades and stuff on other cars, and everything I see. And some of these, look, if I want
but you know what you can do? Just send them off to girodisc.
That's all.
They'll find a hat that matches, and just send you back one of their rotors for your big brake kit.
It makes it so much easy.
It's a no-brainer.
Because it's expensive. I mean, you're talking 16, 18 grand for a good brake set that's aftermarket for those cars.
And yet, for $4,000, you can get 4 new rotors that you can replace the discs. And by the way, they last twice as long, and you replace them for $250 a pop.
Can't beat it.
I mean, it's just,
Yep.
What's the best way to go? That's the only way to go. Until someone comes up with a better system, that's the end of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I have either HRE or Forgeline wheels. I prefer to have a multi-piece wheel, not because I like the style better, but when you go and beat up your track wheels catching those curbs, I only have to fix one part of the wheel.
That's it. Yep.
You know,
I love Forgeline wheels.
Yeah. And they both, there's a number of companies that make a high quality product, but these are the companies I've had the most success with. I'm spoiled. I want to deal with an American-made company.
Yep.
Like girodisc, American company. K40 radar detectors, American company. FabSpeed, Forgeline, these are my American companies. And I have great working relationships with the company owners.
That's us. HTX is, K40, FabSpeed, every one of these. And we've got a wheel manufacturer here in Houston where we can have any custom wheel cut we want to fit anything.
Boom.
And it's American made. It's here, local.
What's the name of that company?
I can't tell you.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Really?
No, they're private. They're one of the exclusives to us and a few other shops, and that's it.
Gotcha. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So,
well, that's good news.
yeah.
And so,
but I'll share it with you offline.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think they want the whole world to know what they do, and
no, they want to be small manufacturer for a couple companies, and that's it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I respect that though, because that's kind of like how we are as a shop. We just do this very narrow group of people, and
our powder coating facility, like one of the one we mainly use, other than if we need a quick day turnaround, they're exclusive to 2 shops. That's it. That's all they want. That's what he can handle.
Okay.
And that's it. So.
Yeah. So the point is that when my customers ask me, I want to go track my car, what's the best way to do it? So we start, girodisc brakes. I always recommend a FabSpeed exhaust, but like the really expensive one, no, I used the cheapest exhaust they made for a GT3 when I had it on my GT3. But your exhaust sounded awesome, Frank. Your car was fast. Yeah, because I got the simplest, least complicated, and therefore the lightest exhaust, which happened to be their cheapest, which made the most power.
I cut all mine off. Yeah. I'm running a piece of straight pipe that goes into 3-inch and an S pipe coming out. But that's it. I don't even have an X pipe, an H pipe, anything. I did get a set. I did have a company locally.
As long as those cats are working, nobody cares.
What cats? I did have a company locally build me a set of titanium, I guess you could call them S pipes, about that long. And I don't know what it is. Titanium seems to rattle, and it's just obnoxious.
Titanium has a different tone for sure. It does have a different frequency. I mean, I had a titanium exhaust on my Urcon, but that was an Akrapovich Valvetronic exhaust.
That's completely different.
And that was $10,000 for one of those.
Well, so these 2 tips cost me $1,000 a piece. Originally, it didn't start at that, but then it was like, hey, $1,000. They didn't get them to fit right. We tried it again. Before you know it, the shop was the company that manufactured them locally was like, you don't know what you're doing, and I come out and measure them. So we took the car to them, and it's still one of them stuck out an inch further than the other side.
Oh, geez.
And then the titanium, they blew them. Well, the blue on these didn't say the pipes turned white.
Well, I mean, under heat, bluing is a particular temperature range, but that's not permanent.
No, definitely not. But it just looked horrible. I took them off. So if any of y'all want a set of S titanium pipes for paperweights because they don't match, definitely just give me a shout and I will send them to you.
Looks great on the desk.
Yes, without a doubt.
I love it. So so on top of that, suspension upgrades, and I can't say anything bad about the Bilsteins that come on the Gallardo because bone stock, they're really good.
Yeah.
But I'm a suspension shop. I have to upgrade. I have to.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I do the corner balancing and aligning, so I make sure my gear is all.
I need brakes and I need a suspension.
Have you done your steel braided lines yet?
Steel braided lines are on.
Okay, good.
Steel braided lines.
So you just need rotors and pads, man.
Rotors, pads, and I'm still running. We've dropped the springs a little on mine, but I'm still running the factory shocks.
Oh, because the whole point of a shock upgrade is the adjustability.
Yeah.
If
pre-LP they're adjustable.
Oh yeah.
LPs they're not.
Right.
So I've still got adjustability.
So as long as I can have that fine tuning adjustability with the spring, well, I mean, fine tuning the spring is just tightening it. I need to be able to adjust ride height to corner balance.
Yeah.
And God bless. One time we had this.
So I'm just gonna come drop the car off with you and let you have it.
We'll get you squared away, brother.
Definitely. Definitely.
Give you my cost on parts. Get you the shop price.
There you go.
And then because if we have a chance to run next to each other, I don't want you having excuses. Your car needs to be perfect so that if there's an issue.
Which car are we talking about running next to mine?
Probably my old 2006 BMW 330i 4-door, 3-liter inline six, no turbos.
Yeah,
Makes about 280 horsepower.
Okay, let's do that one.
So if you can run with that, we'll call it a good day.
As long as it's not the underground car or the Huracan, we'll be fine.
Yeah, the Huracan sold. Even the underground car. Gosh, I posted a little bit about it in a specific forum, but I had a issue where that thing shut down on me about 5 weeks ago for no reason. And I've had that car since 2014.
What year is that?
It's an 04.
Yeah, okay.
So as an outside car, it's an 04 base model manual. Of course, it's an underground racing stage R build with a series of upgrades that was a pretty. I was the first car delivered with these upgrades that are now options on all the gyros that came afterwards. But of course, he doesn't do gyros anymore. He's Huracans only.
Right.
And God bless him. when my car stopped running, I'd just done a major service where I'd gone through and done everything to the car. And so here I am going to drive it right after major service, put some gas in it. I don't get 10 minutes down the road and the car just died. And I've had this car for 8 years with, for lack of a better term, minimal maintenance, because it's a car you can just crank and drive. It's a great car.
How often you've replaced those turbos or rebuild them?
Never.
Oh, wow.
I've got 30,000 miles in this thing. It's not even hiccuped on me.
Oh, wow.
It just goes and goes and goes and goes. It's a beast. Now, mind you, as a stage R build, when we did the build, one of the things I did was I stayed with the stage 3 turbos, which were smaller than stage R turbos, because I went with a shorter ratio. Because in stage R, it's a custom built transmission where he does the billet gear sets. The gear sets are really thick, and so the shafts are thickened, so it can really handle all the output. Well, the funny part about my build is, when we went to go do it, Kevin said, "Well, Frank, I'll do this for you, but if it doesn't put 1,500 to the wheels on race gas, then I can't call it a stage R." And I just kind of chuckled. I said, "Kevin, don't care."
No.
I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I know that with the custom transmission, I can customize my ratios. And I know you've got a selection there. And so I chose his shortest ratios. Stayed with the smaller turbos because I know smaller turbos spool faster. Shorter ratio transmissions spool up quicker for the motor. There's more mechanical advantage for the engine.
Right.
Because I know in the street, when you go to run somebody, it's not about 60 to 130. It's not about the quarter mile. It's not even about your top speed. It's when he hits that horn the third time and you go, it's how hard you put the smack down on him.
That's it.
And if you can put the smack down on him for just a couple of seconds, well, you've won the race. That's it. That's street racing.
Yeah.
That's what I call short attention span racing.
Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha. I'm a winner, Oh, wait. So in those 3 to 5 seconds of go time, output, but nobody's asking what your output is until afterwards.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. Can I just spool up real quick right now? That's all that matters.
I can't tell you how many people I've come to, I'm at the gas station pumping gas, and they walk up, and around here, you see somebody throws $5,000 or $10,000, $15,000 down on the back, and it's like, yo, you want to go on the street? And I'm like, I look over and I'm like, you got a fucking Corvette with slicks and a turbo sticking out of the hood. No, I don't want to go. Like,
you want to go?
And they're like, oh, what you got? And I'm like, I got
nothing.
stock.
I'm stocked, yeah.
2,800 pounds and 600 horsepower. I'm fun.
Yeah.
No boost. I've got 65,000 miles on the car. I drive it daily.
There you go.
I'll go to a racetrack. I'll throw 5-10 gallons, 100 octane in. I'll play around.
Yeah.
I'll get in. I'll drive it home. I can fill up here. I can drive to Dallas and back on a tank of gas. I'm getting 16 miles a gallon.
Yeah. Believe it or not, 6 gear. I'm under 6 gear at 80 miles an hour. I'm at 2,000 RPMs. Not even.
It's perfect.
Getting 25 miles per gallon on the highway.
In a V10.
1,000 horsepower twin turbocharged V10.
It's. I love it.
That's the fun part about it. Turbos do great on gas mileage when you've got them geared properly. And so, and that's with the shorter ratios. They're not shorter than stock because it was funny. The ratio package he had for the big build, he said, well, the one ratio that everybody wants is the one where 6 gear will go to 275.
I don't need that.
Well, that's what I said too. I'm like, I'm not even going to try and do that.
At 200, that's good for me. I'm 195, 200. I'm shutting down.
I mean, I'll be the first to admit when I get on it to go, I literally in my head I say go. I'm in my head 1, 2, 3, and when I let out in 4th gear, I'm at 185.
Yeah, no.
And that's 1, 2, 3, third, grab 1, 2, 3, fourth, let out. I'm 185 and coasting.
Yeah.
The total runtime 6 seconds.
And there's not a lot of highways in Mexico when we're there.
Not a lot of Mexicos that can do that.
Yeah.
And at that acceleration rate, I can tell you right now, the world of cars freeze. Those cars literally freeze. They do this. They go from doing this to freezing, and then they come at you, and they're all just frozen targets, and you're just trying to.
It's tough. You've got to really be on point when you're doing that.
And I do it for 3 to 6 seconds, out.
No.
And bring it back down.
Yep.
And it's a thrill for that time, and I'm not saying I'm bored with it, but I don't feel the need to do that.
I like that 100 to 130 through a curvy, like
That's
hill
the fun.
country,
Yeah.
forest drive, something where I don't have to worry about too many animals running out, but I can just get out there with a couple cars and we can feel a little bit of G's.
In the last year, I've done 2 private runs like that. No more than 6 cars.
Yep.
Going to Austin for the weekend.
That's it.
I've got like 9 different routes now.
Mexico, Austin.
Mexico, Austin.
Yeah.
And what's fun, we're on these 2-lane roads and through the country, and you see an awful lot of Trump signs.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
I mean, that's my license plate, FJB. So if you ever see a black and green Lambo, I have, one FJB and one that says FK taxes.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, those 2 months. And then, I ordered one for the kids for this wrap. It says Goblin, right, for the Green Goblin. So go to kids
I can
shows.
see the Green Goblin. It looks like that, yeah.
And we thought about doing a red and black one like that for what's the other one out right now with the... the show,
the guy with the swords and the red outfit and the black guy?
Not Deadpool, but
No.
the one where it's got the alien that takes over the guy that's in black. Venom, but the opposite dude.
There's an opposite Venom.
Well, the one that's evil, that's new and out. But anyways, we thought about doing one of those wraps.
I can't keep up with the kids.
Hold up. I know it's really
Justin's
difficult.
the man. He knows about this stuff.
Justin, who is
who are we
who's
talking
the
about?
one outside of Venom? The other guy. His opposite. That's the evil.
He's researching it now.
Thank God for Google.
Oh. Bless his heart. He's lost now too.
I don't know.
But the point is, you're having fun with it. You're wrapping the car for the kids.
Yeah.
The kids get excited, and you're planting the seed for the next generation of enthusiasts.
That's it. Kids nowadays, we did just this last event, the Dream Ride, Entrepreneur Dream Rides event, and took a bunch of kids out. I was the only Lambo out there on the track.
No way.
I mean, look, Rafa showed up with some sweet cars. The McLaren, all of his, I'd say like maybe
a few
of what he has.
I didn't even mention that guy's collection.
Oh, and all the kids love that. And then there was a ton of kids. They were like, I want the Lambo. I want in the Lambo. I want in the Lambo. And for them to just go see and get to experience it. We go to car shows. I open the doors and I'm like, hey, just crawl through it, right? Just have fun. That's what it's there for. It's a tool. It's a car. Carnage.
Carnage,
That's
yeah.
it. Carnage. So a red and black one with Carnage
There you
for the
go.
license
Yeah,
plate would be
that
one.
would work. Yeah, that's funny you said, because like I restored a vintage Lambo for Keels and Wheels.
Yeah.
It was a Urraco, 78, and it's fun. I actually sold that car to a guy in California who last year, or the year before last, now it's been 2 years already, he took second place at the Italiano Concorso with it.
Oh wow.
So now I can say I restored a car that placed at Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
And
that's big.
And I'm doing another one. I'm doing another Urraco just because I love the thing. And I did it also because the guy who got it wanted me to take a look at it for him. And I thought he was paying a little bit much for it. I said, why are you hot for this Urraco that's sitting in a field in Dallas? He said, because there's a shop owner there who wants it for his TV show, and I don't want him to butcher it like he has the other cars he's touched. We refer to them, it rhymes with ass monkey.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I think
that good dude. I know that guy. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have no respect for him or the work they've done.
No.
I've been under the cars; they're garbage,
No.
and I was not going to let this guy butcher the car. And so the guy who wanted to buy it, I said, "I tell you what, if you're trying to get a car ready for Pebble Beach, the car you want to buy is too far gone to be ready for Pebble Beach. But I have a car with it just needs a little bit of work done if it was going to go to Pebble Beach this year." So I sent him pictures. We talked about it, worked out a deal. He bought the car off me. I took this car as my next project, and I'm damn if he didn't take second place at the Italo Concorso.
Insane.
I'm miles up, like, oh wow, I built a car that took a trophy at Pebble Beach.
Some of the cars in my lineup, I don't know why, but I know
my
it's
point of telling you about that car real quick. The year before, Keels and Wheels, they called me up, told me to bring it down there, and I brought it down the Lamborghini thing, and they have a thing called the Kids Choice Award.
Yes.
So that's how I met Angelica from Haggerty's Insurance.
Okay. Yeah.
She brought this group of like 20 kids, and I was the only one there standing next to his car when the kids came through. And so they're all looking, oh, Lamborghinis, but there was no one around, so they're just staring at it. And I'm there with the car.
Crawling.
I open the doors, and I still have a video, and 20 kids crawled through that car. I mean, they just like a little...
Sit in it. They can't see over the wheel. Yeah. Yep.
Guess who won Kids' Choice Award?
No names mentioned. Yeah, it's
But you're
fun.
right. There's something special watching the kids lose it. You know.
For me, I get a really good. I enjoy seeing the kids enjoy a car.
Yeah.
And some of the next ones, my future buys, I don't know why, but a 458.
I preach about the 458 probably more than I should, because I'm shooting myself in the foot by doing so. I love the 458 Italia.
It's just a sexy car.
But that car will be the next classic from Ferrari for two big reasons. Number one, it's their last normally aspirated car.
Yep.
Two, first year of their PDK transmissions. Because the 430 and previous, they're using the same garbage transmission that Lamborghini was using. In fact, there's two companies, one in Germany and one in Italy. They actually halfway through production of the two models, the 430 and the Gallardo, they switched companies. Graziano and famous German one, I'll think of it later. But they both took turns making these transmissions, and the transmissions themselves are just fine. But that single clutch gearbox, its problem is that it eats clutches. And even when you're really good about leaving it in race mode, banging the shifts, because that eats the least amount of clutch pedal, you're still not going to get more than 30,000 miles out of that clutch.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Whereas the PDKs, 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
Before you service the fluid. I service them at 50,000 because at 100,000 I actually start having shifting issues. But, that cured it. The PDK fixed that problem. And
you just don't want to beat on it like you do a single disc in a Gallardo.
Right. Or in the Ferrari 430s.
Right.
But with the 458 Italia, it's PDK, baby. Bang on it all day. It'll last you 100,000 miles. And that normally aspirated V8, that flat plane V8, making 550 horsepower, stated, it's really closer to 600.
Is it?
And the car is lighter than a Huracan. It's a freaking rocket ship.
I just love the look of them. I want a black with either camel tan interior or black on black. But black with camel, I think, would be...
I'm going to get the one I can get a bargain on. I'm cheap as hell.
The other
buy
one,
the cheapest one in the country.
the other one that I've never seen in person is a Celine S7 twin turbo.
Okay.
I've never drove one, never been in one. That's one of those.
That's one of those heroes you don't want to meet.
Oh yeah.
It's like a Countach.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe not. And a super light.
Okay.
I know I'm gonna have to work on that.
I was gonna say, have you
every day?
Not necessarily. It's all in how well you put it together. Because with a super light, put an LS motor is what it's designed to take.
So there's one right now available with a LP.
Okay.
V10.
Really?
AC. It's got so much done to it, and it's a twin turbo build.
Holy cow.
Yeah, 900 horsepower, pump gas, super light, twin turbo, Lambo V10, 5.2, even fire. I'm like, oof.
What's he asking for?
200.
Probably has way more than that in the build.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, he's had it for 6 months. I think he's done 2 days of driving on it. The guy before him built it and
Scared
just
the
was
hell
like,
out of
okay.
him.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that.
Oh, it's
I mean, look at Cody's car, right? His super light with the LS, and that thing runs 250, and it sucks to the ground at over 200.
Oh, he can run that car upside down with the downforce.
Yeah, so I'd really like to get my hands on one, especially if I could find something like that.
But have you sat in one though?
They're uncomfortable as hell.
Well, they're tiny.
And that was the reason I went with the 08.
You got shoulders as big as mine.
No, man.
How
Mine
you
are small.
gonna-
I went with an 08 because all the cartilage, when I tore up my back, everything that has bucket seats, like,
when it folds
okay,
forward like
yeah,
this?
like the Super Trofeo, the white one.
Yeah.
When I sit in that thing and drive it, my back locks up. And my 08 was the only year they did comfort seats and the Super G.
Oh, okay.
Right, so
okay.
the best of everything. I got the pre-LP, even fire, 5 liter. The sound is amazing.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
And the comfort seats.
Yes, and comfort seats. Alcantara. I can adjust. My back doesn't hurt. I can go drive it around. Yeah. And so the 458, a super light. I don't know if I want to drive the Celine S7 around.
Have you sat in a 458?
I have. Oh yeah, we had 3 of them at the shop.
I was gonna say because I love them because like as much as I love my Gyro, I gotta fold up and I gotta do the special yoga thing to get in there.
The first time I got in one, I was like, where do I put this thing in park at? Where do I put it in here at? I'm looking and I'm.
Whereas the 458 Italia, I could sit down in it with no special considerations of any kind. I could just fit in the car and drive it.
Yep.
That's the first Ferrari short of an FF or an F12 that I could do that in.
F12s are sick, but
I was in love with an F12 until I had to do the alignment on one. Now that piece of junk can get it stay out of my shop and never come back.
I love the sounds.
Oh yeah, I mean a Ferrari V12. There's nothing like a Ferrari V12.
No, it sounds.
I'm going to send you a video of a guy of this really special front engine V12 Ferrari race car, and it's a modern car. The guy took a 575. And Ferrari, turns out Ferrari had built like 4 for the customers who just wanted to have it. They'd taken these 575s and turned them into a full-blown race car upon customer request. And this thing is a pro driver in it, ripping up a hill climbing grease. It's the darndest thing you ever saw.
Wow.
And the sound echoing off the mountains.
I can't imagine.
It's like nothing you've ever heard. And I'm just like, why do I want one of those? That's the track day car I want.
Yeah.
And it's wide body, epic low, and sounds like the gates of hell itself has spawned open, baby. And I'm just,
So so I'm gonna say, when you talk about the gates of hell, once I get past this exotic part, I want to go back to my next classic is 1,000 to 1,200 horsepower. 70 Chevelle build. I want Pro Touring suspension.
I'm in tears for you. You know why? A buddy of mine just sold almost that exact car. I think it was a 67 the year before the A bodies.
Yeah.
Black so deep it looked like you could swim in it. 12 inches wide in the back. LS9 supercharged built in the front. 6-speed manual. Blood red seats. With he bought it for a song and sold it for 50% more than he paid for it. And I told him, I said, Jared, why are you selling this car? He goes, I never drive it. It's too fast.
No, it's not. If I can have that kind of muscle that'll hang with my Lambo.
Oh yeah, and it's gorgeous.
And I can see people in the back seat.
Oh, I couldn't believe how big the back seat was in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, it's just so fast and it's so it's loud and shakes and and he drove it to a couple of car shows for me that I invited him, and it was like, that thing's awesome.
I want a 70 Chevelle I can put on the track that'll handle like a new Lambo or Porsche, and yet I can get out on the highway with 1,200 horsepower and roll with a 9-liter Viper, a twin turbo.
You roll with anything with that.
Yeah.
Anything. And so, that car's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only a matter of time until somebody puts it up for sale.
Yeah,
and when they put it up for sale,
$250,000.
Hey, I heard a great phrase years ago, but I saw this interview with Samuel L. Jackson. No, not Samuel L. Jackson, Denzel Washington. He said, a mentor told me this years ago, and the classic phrase, "This too shall pass."
Yeah, without a doubt.
We're dealing with economic turmoil. We are already neck deep in a recession that nobody wants to admit it's a recession. We're going to deal with much more economic havoc in the short term. What's coming here in the fall, come winter, it's going to be a winter from hell economically.
Oh, yeah.
But this too shall pass. And when it does, there'll be some bargains out there.
I'm waiting. I'm ready to buy.
Coming.
I mean,
as a longtime investor, patience is your friend.
I've been lazy lately. I've been sleeping in. I think since last August, we went on a month vacation, covered 5,000 miles, 9 states in a month.
What?
Rented a big 45-foot motorhome because I didn't know if I wanted to do the motorhome thing.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let's just do this. Loaded it, slept 9 people, had 3 different beds in it, washer, dryer, full everything. Loaded them up. We went all the way through Colorado, all the way up to Montana, Glacier National, back down around Vegas and around. Best time ever. I've been looking at buying a motorhome. I'm gonna wait. Gas prices are driving those prices down, and I'm gonna buy one. But since then, I haven't been. I think I've been to the gym 5 times. I'm sleeping until 9 or 10. I get up, I check. Oh, yep. All right. Made X amount before I wake up. I'm happy. And then I just go, I don't think, listen, I haven't taken a paycheck investment wise. I haven't taken a paycheck from a company or a business or anything in 2 years, at least that. Yeah.
Okay.
COVID, whenever COVID hit, that April, when the oil field started tanking, I left consulting, packed up, went home, didn't plan on going back. I haven't been back. Not to say I wouldn't, but it's got to be the right environment to go sit on a rig. But other than that, my money's making me money. And it's stacking up. And when this market starts resetting, I'm going to buy as many homes as I can buy for 25 cents on the dollar. And I'm going to owner finance those. I'm going to be the bank. I'm going to set the rate they sell at. I'm going to set the interest rates.
Because the interest rate is going to be 8-9% by year end for a home.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at the 80s. It was 18%. Our taxable income rate right now is 37.7%.
Oh, when you count in all the taxes, our tax rate's really well over 50.
Without a doubt. To pay taxes you make money, you pay tax on the money you make, to go buy something, to pay taxes on that, to buy fuel, to pay taxes on that.
That's okay. When you die, they'll tax what you have left.
Yeah, death tax. Yeah.
But I've never drawn a paycheck from your world. Never. I knew going in this wasn't going to be a big money maker. It's a money saver and a tax benefit to buying all the equipment to work on my cars.
That's it. Yeah. Without a doubt. And there's days I wake up and, whether it's a customer or whether it's the shop or an employee, it's like, oh, what the hell am I doing? And then it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go do this. I'm going to show up at the shop. I'm going to go on a drive.
Do this.
Yesterday, I didn't even leave the house. I sat around the pool drinking coffee and then water, and then kids played in the pool, and that was my day. Went, ordered some lupe tortillas, got the fajitas with crack, ate. I was done.
If my wife caught me sitting by the pool in the middle of the day, she'd be like, "What are you doing? What the hell's wrong with you?"
No, I asked mine. I was like, "You want to join?" She said, "Yeah." Get another
this.
chair.
I love it. This is far and away my longest podcast.
Yeah.
We're not even trying.
No. There's so much more to talk about. We're gonna have to pick up again.
Let's do this. Let's pick this up next time.
Okay.
Josh, I can't thank you enough for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And I feel like we're just really scratching the surface here. That's all we're doing.
So much. Let's talk economics. Let's talk entrepreneurship. Let's talk business. Let's talk investing.
And I do like that. Like, when I had Alec on board, it was really important to brag about what Alec does when he's not racing a car. Because everyone I've had on board, these are my friends. These are car people, and so we all are in this for the love of cars.
Yeah.
And for those who can make money at it, great. Those who had to go make money to be a part of this, great. But regardless, the story that brought us here to me is interesting no matter what.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's some of the best stories to be told.
We just touched the surface today. We'll get more and more into it. Life, childhood, going to some of the other cars.
There you go.
First car, junk car, worst car.
You know what? Let's do that. I should have like a set of questions I should ask every time, but I'm just so into. I want to hear your story. Just go.
That's it.
And that's the fun of it for me. But let's talk a little bit about that before we go. First car.
1984 Ford Crown Victoria, 351 Windsor, ex-police car for Hayes County. Bought it at an auction.
And how much did you pay?
I think we ended up paying $600 for that car.
$600.
I threw a paper route with it for a little bit. So this is we used to use it for a paper route. I got it. My parents got it when I was 15. We drive it, and then I would get used to driving it in the mornings, throwing the paper. And for most kids that don't know what that is, it's in the newspaper. You gotta chunk it out the window.
That's right. They don't have paper routes anymore.
No.
Oh my God.
And you get it per paper. Every paper stuffed bag and thrown was like 50 cents. And so we would get as many as we can on route. I got good at chunking them overhead and throwing them. And one night I was stuffing papers, and my parents took another vehicle. They left me there to work at 15. And you work out of a storage locker, right? Yeah. Stuffing these things. And I was like, I want to go to the gas station. So I thought I knew how to hotwire a car, right? And if my kids watch this and you ever try this, I'm going to beat your ass. So I popped the steering column, popped the lock, and tried to get it. I couldn't get it started. So I tried to put it all back together, and my parents showed up, and my old man was like, what's this? And I was like, I was going to
doesn't work.
The key didn't even go in it. And so I had to pay for a whole new lock cylinder, key, and everything, but I had to pay for them to come out and replace it.
That cost more than the car.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That
cylinder lock alone is $300.
I kind of broke the trust at that point, and then I got my license. I got to drive the car, and you got a car like that. It's fast. It's stock. Growing up in a small town, 730 people, Lavernia, Texas, right? Again,
why am I picturing that song, "Son, you're gonna drive me to drinking"? If you don't start driving that hot rod Lincoln.
My old man was an alcoholic. Right? he drank anyways.
I don't know why.
That dude, he shot me in the leg. Like, I've been stabbed. I mean, all kinds of bad stuff.
Oh my God.
So when I got the car, first car, it was tan with really dark tinted windows. I put
the detective's car.
It was my first lift kit. Y'all check this out.
Car?
Yeah. So
the Crown Vic?
Oh, I put a big old CB whip on the trunk, a big Lone Star beer sticker on the back window. I cut the exhaust off and just welded some 12-inch glass packs reversed so it'd pop when you let off. And I had dumps right before the axle and that. And the rear springs are coil springs on those cars.
Right.
I couldn't afford a lift kit or coil spring spacers that would break the springs, so I took 2x4s. I jacked the car up, and then I shoved the 2x4s in, and then I nailed the 2x4 like this so it wouldn't slide out. So it was a cased 2x4s in between the springs, and that way the back of the car was lifted up. And then I put 33-inch mud tires on the back. This was some, like, pre-Dukes of Hazzard redneck shit. I'm talking.
Seriously.
And I drove it around town for a while.
I'm sure you were well known at that point.
It was horrible. I was out of school by then, right? So I had left.
10th grade, yeah.
And And it got to the point where they didn't even want, I don't even think they wanted that car to show up on a school parking lot. And they were like, Mr.
You promised to leave.
Back then, I used my stepdad's name of Olson. So everybody in the town knew me as Josh Olson, not Kirk, right? My real name was, last name was Kirk. So, I mean, I'd get pulled over. The cops would write a ticket, Josh Olson.
That's the Olson boy.
Yeah, there's the Olson boy. It was such...
And that jacked up Vic.
Yeah, and the back was stock. Hubcaps still on the police Interceptor hubcaps on the front, the Windsor Interceptor motor. It was just it was fun. And then my best friend at that time...
Convinced you were the coolest thing to ever drive a car.
He bought... I think a Grand Marquis was like the Crown Vic.
The same car, just different badging.
So he bought a blue one, or no, it was a Ford Thunderbird, but the same year, right?
Yeah.
So I was the Crown Vic, he was the Thunderbird guy, and he did the same shit to the Thunderbird.
Oh my God.
So there was a baby blue and a tan Crown Vic that would run around with all this stupid redneck stuff, and that was it. And then from there,
a styling trend of 2.
Oh, then I got my first truck, and that truck had like a 305. The biggest janky motor I've ever come across was the Chevy 305.
Oh, yeah, that's yeah.
I don't know whoever invented it. I don't poster avoid birth control or something because it was horrible. No power. It sucked.
It's a wonderful combination of both bad fuel mileage and low power.
Low power, and then we'd drive it, and then we'd shut the key off. Even on the Crown Vic, I'd shut the key off back then, and you'd pump the gas, and then you fired. Boom, and it'd shoot flames out the back and just do some stupid stuff until I blew a hole in the side of the block. So, you live and learn.
Oh God, yeah. And I'm laughing because I'm so guilty of a lot of that myself.
Yeah.
I mean, and my friends did it too. Monroeville, Alabama, a little bit of that going on too. Yeah, I understand.
Alabama, is it Alabama where you don't have to have car insurance? Or didn't?
Oh, back then?
And so people you drove the junkiest thing you could because people would just hit each other and just keep going. It's kind of like the Woodlands now, except you have to have insurance. They just hit you and all that.
They do, right? Paco in the work van, he's ready for you.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, and then notice they're the ones who get the closest to your car at the stoplight.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you've got something nice here, just know it's getting screwed up.
Yeah.
At one point.
You can't have nothing nice in this world.
I mean,
as my daddy used to say.
We can. We're going to fix it a lot.
Here. A lot. Yeah.
That's part of it. My wife's Suburban's jacked up, new big black Suburban. She's been sideswiped. The Tahoe. I picked the Tahoe up. You talk about investments and like payday loans. I do payday loans and people give collateral and they don't pay. A 16 Tahoe. Somebody sideswiped that the other day, and that was it's. I mean, it's paid for. It's a that big diesel truck I have, the new F-250. That one, a guy and it's tuned and built and geared, and it's on 37s. And a guy in a Dodge Charger wanted to race, and we took off, and it got so close to the edge that I started backing off, and he wanted to cut in the front right as the lanes come together, and sideswiped the bumper, tore his car up. I damn near run over the guy completely. And he gets down, he's like, "You hit me." And I'm like, "You came into my lane, dude. Here's the dash cam."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here's my dash cam.
But, it's...
Just know that, folks. That speed on that looks like a radar detector on my car.
Those dash cam. You got to get a dash cam.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, drive with the dash cam. It catches so much.
The last time I didn't have a dash cam, I was in my Huracan. I was doing 35 miles an hour on a split road. And this little old lady in a Corolla S, side street. She pulled up to the side street. I saw her look right at me. No other cars on the road. I'm doing 35. I'm watching her. I'm getting closer. And I'm thinking, okay, she just is waiting for me to come by because she wants to see the Lamborghini come by. Mm-hmm. Last second, pulls out in front of me.
You hit her?
No. Because I was watching her. I'm like, something's. And I remember my internal voice saying, something's up, something's
just go
up.
Slow.
Be ready. And that's why I was doing 35. And I could not believe how close she let me get before she pulled out in front of me.
She wanted that money.
So I steered. And then I had my good tires and my alignment, and the car turned. And then she jumped out some more. I mean, she pulled out and stopped. I braked, turned, and she pulled out more. And I turned some more to the point where the car wasn't turning anymore. So in 2 lanes of stop and go, trying to get me to hit her, And because of the break between the lanes, so that round curb, couldn't turn anymore. So the right-hand side of my car hit the curb, boom, and came to a stop in the turn lane going the other way.
No.
Both rims, the suspension, the splitter, all of it just, even the radiator inside the splitter destroyed. All bent to hell, leaking fluids out everywhere. This car's not going anywhere.
No.
She's untouched. Of course, I sit there for a second, catch my breath. This poor woman is about to physically die. I'm going to kill her. I get out of the car. That's it. Whoever gets out of this car, I'm just going to rip him in half. End of conversation. It's this little old lady. You know, I mean, she's 5 foot nothing, round, gray hair. She's not even speaking English. Well, I can't kill the old lady. There's people in this vehicle.
We can't kill anybody, okay, dude? No, I'm just...
Passenger door opens. Out jumps what is clearly her daughter, a carbon copy of her, but with darker hair. Spanish. I'm like, oh, I can't kill her. Back door opens. A 3-year-old and a 5-year-old child and a little 12-year-old boy get out. So now I've got no one to kill, no one to square up with, no one to get in my face and give me reason to break them in half. Old women and children. And they're crying. And I'm like, so I'm furious, but now I'm frustrated. And I just calm down, got to be professional, got to be polite. License and registration. And they're talking to each other. They don't, I'm saying license, registration. Polizia, 911. The children immediately starts crying, no polizia, no polizia. That's the only thing I really
kind
know.
of sound Italian like that.
That's my, I used polizia because I didn't know what else to say. I mean, and the deputy got there. And by the way, at this point, I went from having no cars on the road but me and her to now there's thousands of cars. Everybody's taking pictures. Mm-hmm. Famous.
You're
today.
that guy.
I'm that guy. And I was just, this is getting worse by the minute. And the police officer shows up and he's like, what happened? I walked him through what happened. And you could see where I chirped on the brakes, where I turned, where I hit the curb, and my car is still in the place where it landed and the fluid's just pouring out. I said, but she pulled out and stopped and pulled out some more. She's trying to get me to hit her. And he looked at me and goes, you should have hit her. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, she pulled out in front of you, and if you'd hit her, it would have been her fault.
But was it your fault?
No, because I didn't hit her. It was my fault because I didn't hit her. If I had hit her, it would have been her fault. Wow. And that's the way the law is structured. I'm calling my insurance agent. You know what he said? You should have hit her. So
lesson learned for anybody that sees this.
Just hit them.
Just don't hit them too hard. Don't cause injury. Just damage the car.
But and then here's the other thing. You know, when I saw the children get out, I was like, oh.
It's called failure to yield, I think. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, something like that. But all I could think was, God, what if I had hit her and killed a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old child?
I mean, it's a Huracan. It would have gone under their car.
And all I can think is, rich, white male in a Lamborghini kills 2 Hispanic children. That's what the headlines would say.
Yeah. So everything would have been gone. Maybe. I mean, you know.
$16,000 in parts. Parts.
Yeah. You know what it sounds like? The Countach.
And the labor bill was cheap because guess where he fixed it at? Euro Motorsports.
Yeah. That's where I'm taking mine. If you ever need it done, just go to Euro Motorsports.
I got to take care of my crew and myself, you know? Mm-hmm. And that was the ugliest moment.
First car for you, what was it?
I'm still proud of it. 1976 K5 Blazer.
Oh, round headlights, square body.
Oh, this was even better. It's a square body, and this was my grandfather's car. So my grandfather, this was his hunting vehicle he kept in Alabama when he flew down from Pennsylvania to go hunting. So this 77 K5 Blazer, when I got it, 4,800 miles on it.
All original?
Oh, yeah. Not only was it all original, he had all the cool upgrades. So he had it was all original interior, but in 1977, he had the cool Warren winch with bumper upgrade on the front. Had the AC Delco AM FM CB radio in it. 25-foot antenna that you waited until you went to the drive-through at McDonald's. Dung, 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 dung. cool. But it was stock size wheels, tire. I mean, it was super clean. It was green and white two-tone.
Still wish you had that thing, huh?
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the guy I sold it to still has it to this day in Monroeville, Alabama. And he passed it on to his grandson.
Maybe you should
Make a phone call.
hit him. No, I'm just kidding.
Josh, I've kept you here so long. I can't thank you enough for spending time with me
I
today.
appreciate it. Looking forward to it again.
We will, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And with that, everyone, we've sat through a tiny piece of the fun we have here at Talking Gearheads. Again, Josh Kirk of HTX Customs, thank you again for coming by. We are sponsored by Euro World Motorsports, hence the patch on the shirt, trying to have a good time with everyone here today. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you guys next time.